first guest is Farhat Hassan, who teaches history at the Delhi University. Abha Singh, also a historian who teaches at the Indira Gandhi National Open University. Mubin Zehra, also a medieval historian, a columnist and also a writer. Welcome to the program. What was the political backdrop to where the battle was taking place? What was India like at that time?
See, we have, when we talk about Battle of Panipat, we need not just look at it as in dates and events.
Right.
We need to have a kind of an analysis as in what repercussion it has in the present political scenario also, because the Maratha Sardars, when they arose, the Maratha Confederacy or the kind of Maratha prowess that arose, it has some kind of impression and implication in present day Maratha Asmita, the kind of Marathi Asmita which we are talking about. So the other day I was just discussing this with one Marathi scholar. So he kind of told me that it is very sad that the Marathas were misunderstood, and this war, the Panipat War, Third Battle of Panipat, was a kind of a collection or a bold step by the Marathas against, it was a national front. It was a national front against Ahmad Shah Abdali. So the Marathis or the Marathi Asmita term it this way. So we have to venture into that aspect also. Since being a Mumbaikar, we see that the Battle of Panipat is not only presented in history book, but you find its presence in everyday speaking of Marathi language, verbs.
It's part of folklore.
It's a part of their life, the Marathi life, because they use it. If they use it by various terms, they said that Amcha Panipat Zhala. When we say this, it means that you've lost, you had a loss in your life or something. So it's connected. That is very important.
In terms of history, in terms of where there was a 200-year gap between the first and the second and the third battle, but is there any way of connecting the two? Would you as a historian look at them as part of a collective whole?
See, like Abha said earlier, that there were various reasons for the Battle of Panipat, the downfall of the Mughals and various other characters, whatever she said. But I again would not like to comment on that, but I would also like to see to this battle as a movement that was created by the intellectuals also. Shah Waliullah, he had a very prominent role to play in creating an awareness against the Marathas, and probably and definitely the French artillery support was also there to the Marathas. Yes, these two wars, the first war was absolute establishment of Mughal Empire in India. The second war was, you can say, a consolidation, but that too was also connected to a Hindu uprising or a Hindu ideological uprising against the Mughals, who were regarded as foreigners. And the third war itself, like I earlier said, though there was no entity of a nation as an entity did not exist, but yes, it was connected to the Asmita, the Marathi Asmita or the Maratha Asmita that existed at that point of time, and which still continues in our political speeches, in our political representations, whether we try to deny it, but it does exist. So that continuation would have been there.
I think we have had a fairly heated argument, on the role of the Marathas, how Marathas perceived their identity, the identities of the others, the reasons for them getting into North India, having such large, control of such large territories. But let us also try to understand the process of Maratha expansion. Though the Marathas, had been in conflict with the Mughal Empire for several decades, it is only towards the early decades of the 18th century that the Marathas start emerging out after the death of Aurangzeb, that the term Maratha expansion gets heard about. How do you look at this entire process of the Marathas coming out of the territory which they had created and then coming into North India? What were the reasons behind it?
The Maratha expansion itself aggravated or intensified after, that is probably 1707 to 1757, you say. But there were various reasons. The reasons was the weakening of the Mughals and the de facto disintegration of various regional those powers, Bengal, Hyderabad, and then the various rebellions as we discussed earlier. But I do feel that there was a kind of intellectual movement also going around. Like in earlier instances of history, we do see that the battles are fought on the battlefront, but there is an entire intellectual movement that goes around, that kind of lobbying that goes around in history, where people kind of create an awareness regarding a particular identity, the religious identity which we were talking about. Probably we might not agree on that, but these kind of identity, these kind of movements, these kind of intellectual propagation did occur, and I think that was one of a major part, because the Marathas, they did dare to go beyond their territory. They did dare to go beyond till Lahore or Panipat and go and fight a war with an Afghan. So that credit cannot be taken. I mean, if you discuss this with any Marathi historian, you would want to discuss that and talk about that, and that is quite apparent. Having said that, I feel that with every Maratha, with every Panipat war, there was an addition. And initially, like I earlier said, it was establishment, expansion, and then disintegration, and the end of even the Maratha power that was rising with great speed, and it gave a challenge to a very swift rise. So there was this conflict of ideas that did exist. Maybe it is not depicted in records, or maybe it's not depicted in dates or issues, but yes, I mean, because it was connected to a particular section of the population. So you need to
let's look at the issue, slightly differently. There is unanimity that 1707, with the death of Aurangzeb, is the time when the decline of the Mughal Empire begins. Why does it begin? Is it because the later, the post-Aurangzeb emperors who come in are basically not, not good enough, emperors? What is it? Or is it just a matter of, or there are certain other things, would you look at it slightly differently, not in purely in terms of individuals?
No, where there are various reasons that we attribute to disintegration of Mughals. Then there is Nadir Shah's invasion, 1739, and then eventually the disintegration of various regional powers, like I discussed earlier. So, but definitely the vacuum which was created by that, like Farhad Saab said, that it was just the acceptance, there was this vacuum and the acceptance of, because Duff also discusses this, the grandeur of Mughals was adopted by the Marathas.
Right.
I mean, when you discuss the decoration of their tents, the army tents, military tents, it is something similar to the Mughal. So that assimilation was there, but yes, there could be various reasons, and I mean, that is one of the reasons that really led to the
slightly related issue which I just want to understand, especially because of the way history is looked at in India. It's actually very, very sensitive, and also linked to the debate that we were having between the three of you. Nadir Shah, we referred to Nadir Shah in this course of this discussion. There is this image that foreign, plunderers came from foreign countries, took away our wealth. That's one way of looking at it. Is there any other way of looking at these waves of invaders who came in? Even Ahmad Shah Abdali was not, did not stay on to create an empire here, but they were basically, visitors here. How does one look at it?
I would also look at it at this way, that these invaders who came, and the people who arose against these invaders, who gave a fight to these invaders, as they are termed as, they did not get the support of several people who were quite strong militarily and strategically. But so that could also be a way of looking at these kind of invasions. I mean, we could look at it that way also.
You have been trying to present, the voice of what, to use your phrase, of the Marathi historian. Do you also look at, the outcome of the Third Battle of Panipat as a result of the failure of the Marathas to strike the right alliances in northern India?
Well, partly I would like to agree with this, but there seemed to be a lacunae when we try to present the valor of the Marathas also, because they did go and challenge, and they did go and had a battle, they did fight. and at times we decline to accept the kind of death these brave Maratha soldiers had. So history, I mean history, you can have your own views also, you can view at an event with your own conception also, but I feel that the Battle of Panipat, the third Battle of Panipat itself signifies the symbolic decline of the Mughal also, like he said, Farhad Saab said that there was a symbolic prestige or the build-up of the Mughals, that it paved the way for that also, some kind of, because, and then there was a vacuum also, like she said, there was a vacuum created among the Maratha powers, that it also subsided. But however, I would, staying in present scenario, I would also look to like to look at it as history being used by various compartments of ideologies and section for their own benefits, presenting it in their own way. So an analysis could be of, I mean, an event could be of your own